Welcome back to Control for the last time. Probably.
Hey, man.
Most likely.
Now, I like what you've done here, because I can see Grim. I didn't think I would see him right away, and I didn't think he would be here right away, but I see him, and it makes me happy. It's a really good place for him.
I'm glad you like it. Because I had that idea, and I was afraid I wouldn't remember it.
I almost kind of wish that I hadn't noticed.
Like, and until
that,
later?
Yeah. Like, it's one of those things that just keeps happening, and then eventually it imprints on your brain, and you're, like, taking a shower, or you're just about to fall asleep, and then your eyes, like, pop open wide, and you're like, oh my god, I've seen Grim in the corner of my eye for the last 36 hours. Which, with any other character, wouldn't be such a big deal, but with Grim, it's like, maybe I need to think more about this. So hey, we are about, I want to say, we started the Foundation DLC.
Got a good ways into it.
And I don't remember how long this DLC is, but...
There's always side quests.
Oh yeah, and believe me, this game has plenty of them. There are a couple of boss fights that you haven't seen yet.
Worse and worse.
At least on camera. Hey Cosmo.
Hey.
Welcome to the back half of the Foundation DLC. Which is the last thing that we have to do. And I'm sorry, I just tabbed into this picture that you sent me. This animated GIF rather. Of
like
Mr. Scratch,
goes both ways.
Just in a cycle flipping off Alan at the Remedy office, and I really like it. Is Windows to the point yet where everything? I will read that in a moment. Is Windows to the point yet where you can just have a looping GIF as your desktop background without having to download clients?
I think you can do that, but I could be super wrong.
I know that you can do it with like a wallpaper manager or whatever. Like there are things that you can download that'll do it, but
there are ways.
It seems like that should be like a system level thing by now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
Okay. That was a where everything. Dear Science, there's a person in my pet salamander. He has human eyes. Why doesn't anyone else see him? It's like, I think it's like werewolves, but with every animal. Weredogs, werecats, wereotters, werebutterflies, everything. There are people inside, and they can't get out. They're stuck in the animal body. It's not all animals, but it can be any animal. My parents don't believe me. Maybe this has happened before? I thought you would know. Sincerely, John LeMaine. I really like the idea of starting out a letter saying, Dear Science.
Dear Science.
It has the same energy. It has the same energy to me as thank you video games. Only without the specter of shit, what's his name? Jack Black and Double Fine. Who's the other guy? He's the creator of Double Fine.
No, Double Fine.
That's
Tim
Tenacious D. Tim
Schafer.
Schafer.
That didn't go so well.
Man,
you said
no. You
said Jack Black, and my immediate thought was Tenacious D.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I did not mean to blow your mind, but that shit happens to me all the time. I've been watching on repeat those videos of Tenacious D mashed up with Evangelion music.
Yeah.
Just incredible. Like, the editing on display in those things is fantastic. Because they turn the music, which is on its own already incredible, into like a full-on battle between Tenacious D on stage and like all of Nerve trying to attack them like they're angels. We're talking like Jack Black pulls out a high note and like an AT field surrounds a punch and rebounds it.
Pretty good.
I'm looking at your upgrades here. You seem pretty, like, strapped for bear here.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything at this point in the game... I mean, you've dealt more with the combat in this game than I think I ever did. So, is there anything at this point that you kind of wish that you still had?
More slots for personal mods. And that's pretty much it.
Like, instead of, okay, I see what you're saying. Tell you what, talking about slots and personal mods and just... Oh, no. I hear an oh boy, and I just see nothing.
No, that's directed at you.
Okay, slots and personal mods. Look, my personal life is not on display here, alright? I don't have... You say so. So, do we have anything later tonight? Not tonight, no, tonight is pretty much just control until it's done, probably. Unless they're, like, turns out to be 8 hours more of this one DLC, which I somehow doubt, but I could be wrong.
I'd be up for it.
It would be good to wave goodbye to Jesse.
Matic and Neko procedures. You're up.
I see it. I seize it. Don't let me forget about Immortals Phoenix Rising. I want to talk about that.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Case files. Maneki Neko procedures. Containment procedure. None known. Description: a ceramic beckoning cat figurine, common luck object found in Japanese storefronts. The following is a list of items observed with altered effects: non-corporeality, affinity for specific human behavior, and minor physical movement, waving its arm. Multiple simultaneous incarnations of this item have been observed. Whether these are independent altered items acting uniformly or replicated instances of AI-48 is unknown. Background: how the items originally arrived in the oldest house is unknown. It was first discovered sitting in the director's chair and was immediately contained in a panopticon cell. The next day, an agent noticed 2 additional figurines had appeared. Hours later, all 3 vanished. The items have been sighted throughout the Bureau, appearing while agents perform redacted tasks. It is theorized that fulfilling certain unknown criteria will encourage the items to appear. Present location is unknown. I like that. I like that it's because we had no idea what that thing was the whole game, and we still don't.
Yeah?
Crusader Kings. Yeah, maybe so. I know that I'll be probably doing something later tonight, but if you're up when the stream is off, then I'll at least swing by and hang around and chat. I like the idea that the first thing that it does is sit in the boss man's chair.
It's real good.
That's some good energy. And see, I thought ahead this time. This time I've got water, so that I won't die. Unless I, choke on it or something, which I do a lot, it seems.
Well, you do it a lot, and you're still here.
That's right. I'm stronger than the choke.
Shit. Where'd it go? I'm trying to do some puzzle bullshit here. Oh shit, I did it.
Oh? It got up there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. Hey, nice. Which, hey, if that's true, then that means that the stream delay is better
minimal.
than usual.
And it usually is until the game starts hanging, which it will. So enjoy it while it lasts.
It's usually fine, just long enough for me to say, hey, it looks fine, and then it turns bad for the rest of the 3 hours and makes me look a damn fool.
It brought that all that way for nothing. It just disappeared. Curse your
Maybe it's not
astral
supposed to be
plane.
there. You can't break the rules like that. Everything has its rule, everything has its ritual. Everything has its season and its time. So yeah, Ubisoft put out a Breath of the Wild clone that they showed it off for a little while ahead of time. I want to say a year or two ago, they showed off the first trailer, and it was like a Greek mythology kind of Breath of the Wild thing. And they called it Gods and Monsters. And Gods and Monsters is no longer the name of that product. It was renamed to Immortals Phoenix Rising. Which, A, is terrible.
Sounds like a fucking mobile game.
It does sound like a mobile game. And I looked into it a little bit because I was like, what? Why would you do that? Seems like intentionally kneecapping your sales, right?
Although Gods and Monsters honestly isn't much better, in my opinion.
It's not much better, but it's more evocative, right? Gods and Monsters is at least better than Immortals Phoenix Rising Watch Gate Rise of the Order of the Immortal of the Blood.
Nice.
Cookie Clicker Gods and Monsters.
You're gonna see that in a second.
Oh no, I see it. You got a little Rock'em Sock'em Robot action happening here.
I was gonna seize one of them, but I was like, nah, I'm gonna let this rock. And it was good.
It was good. But yeah, so Immortals Phoenix Rising came out, and it's just off-putting enough to be really weird in a lot of ways, because like they're clearly doing the Breath of the Wild thing, right?
Right.
Only every part of it is okay. Let me put it to you this way. Remember when you start Breath of the Wild and it's like no title screen, fades in on cinematic, and has like an extremely minimalist setting, and it's just like it's almost like hearing an orchestra wind up before the symphony starts, right?
Right.
And it's just got this super. It's got like a self-importance about it that I really dig. And when you start Immortals Phoenix Rising, immediately you're just given like the same thing but dumbed down.
No
like
shit.
But not necessarily the same thing even. Just like enough so that it's clearly them trying to do it, but dumbed down in the way that you're not looking at a crossword puzzle, you're looking at square peg round hole little doctor's office game, right? In the way that it goes to bear mentioning that uninspired soulless trash, says Prince Cosmo. Yeah,
I think I can think of a few games that are like that.
You know when you start up, okay, literally even Zelda. You know when you start up Zelda, let's say Twilight Princess, and it's got like it's kind of like a thin edge to it, right? And then you start up Fable 2 or Fable 3 on the Xbox, and it's kind of like, yeah, all right, you're kind of trying to do the same thing here, but it's a little bit babyified. Like all of the edges have been sanded down, and everything's really colorful, and people won't stop talking.
Lowest common denominator shit.
Lowest common denominator, first-party Xbox type stuff. which I'm not necessarily against.
I got no fucking time for it.
I don't necessarily hate that, because I've definitely seen games do that do it really well. I actually really like the Fable games, but at the same time, when you directly compare it to its inspiration, it's kind of just like they took this high budget, almost artsy kind of movie, and then they just made the direct-to-sequel starring Kevin Hart and Bruce Willis that is directly inspired by it, but doesn't understand why it works as well as it does. Take Breath of the Wild and strip out all of the minimalism and self-discovery, and that's kind of what you get.
Breath of the Wild, but a Ubisoft game, sounds like the worst thing ever.
And it's pretty much like
It's what we're picturing.
Giant Bomb put up their thing of it today, their quick look, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm totally down to see what an hour and some odd change of this new Series X like first party thing looks like, of course. And it's on the PC, so hey, if it's good, I could use more Breath of the Wild in my life. And I was looking at it and just like every part of it put me off. One of the things that I would mention about, like, the feeling that I got when you zoom in on your camera, or your Sheikah Slate iPhone camera in Breath of the Wild, and you mark something in the environment, it doesn't tell you what you just marked. It just puts a marker on the map and says go figure it out. And then when you get there, it tells you what it is. So they showed off, like, starting at a high location and zooming around with their binoculars or whatever, and as they were moving over parts of the environment, it was like, press X to mark a chest, press X to mark a puzzle, and it's like, oh, I don't like that. It's like the whole strength of Breath of the Wild was the not knowing what something was, but being drawn to it by just its visual indicator and a sense of curiosity.
And just general wanderlust.
Yeah. And Immortals Phoenix Rising is like, Prince Cosmo writes that it's a theme park, not an environment to discover.
Yep.
That's a good way to put it, too. And I love theme parks, but I don't love that. I'm so disappointed because it's like, Breath of the Wild is maybe one of my favorite games of all time. And, well, not maybe. It's maybe my favorite game of all time. It's definitely one of my favorite games of all time. And just, like, seeing people take shots at doing a clone of it has been really interesting, because it's been this, and it's been Genshin Impact. And Genshin Impact kind of looks cool some of the time, and then you remember, like, the gross, grimy gacha and how bad that can get. And it's like, oh, no.
One of these.
And then you add on a layer of, like, unpolished jank to it. And even Nintendo, you know, they did their Hyrule Warriors 2, and it looks like Breath of the Wild. It's got a lot of the same sound effects and a lot of the same map. It's very good at aping that aesthetic and making you really want to play more. But if you don't like Musou games, I have some bad. It's another Musou game.
Well, I think that's kind of the point, though. Like, I wouldn't hold that against Nintendo.
No, but it's like I'm so willing and ready to play the sequel, and I'm like frothing at the mouth like a rabid animal because I want a sequel to the game, you know?
You're gonna get one.
I'm gonna get one.
It's not like It's not like they're fucking Valve, where they do all of this shit that's tangentially related to the thing that you want while never actually giving it to you and just spending like 15 years fucking with you. That's Valve. That's not Nintendo.
It's not Nintendo, but Nintendo also likes to do the thing where they give you the thing that you don't know that you wanted and refuse to give you the thing that you want. You know what I like?
Yeah.
Nintendo is weird in a way that I really like and sometimes really dislike. But I have no doubt that they're gonna make it. I just have my doubts as to whether or not they're gonna make it before the world implodes on itself and I don't get to play it. Also still waiting for that that Triforce collection to come out at some point this year. With you know, all of the their answer to the Mario All-Stars.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm way more interested in.
Fucking hate Valve.
Full disclosure.
How's that for full disclosure?
I don't think that's like a... I think once upon a time that was a controversial statement. I don't think that's a controversial statement as of like the last 8 years.
That depends on who you ask. It wasn't a controversial statement for the last 8 years. It might be now.
I don't know. For as much as okay, so I have a much higher opinion than you do of Half-Life Alyx, and I like it a lot, despite not really caring about Half-Life at all.
That's kind of the problem.
And at the same time, whenever I think, yeah, they totally made Half-Life Alyx, then I have to double back and I'm like, yeah, but then they also made Artifact, and Dota 2, and Artifact.
And they ruined Team Fortress 2.
Yeah, but they ruined Team Fortress 2 like 5 years ago. And then they just kept ruining it. Prince Cosmo writes in chat that he likes Angry Bix, which is great. That's Bix.
Yeah, if you like that, you're in the right place.
My nickname for you on Steam, you know how you can nickname your friends? Mm-hmm. My nickname for you hasn't changed since they rolled out that feature literal years ago. And you've always been Mr. Bix, and then in parentheses, the angry one.
That's right!
I shudder to think what nicknames people have given me.
For me, it's likes coffee.
Oh, that's good.
And it has been, likewise, since they rolled out the feature.
Always drinking coffee.
Smoking cigars. I'm telling
Cosmo.
you, that's the part that gets me every time.
It's pretty good. Prince Cosmo bought Artifact, and I feel bad for you.
Sorry.
I hope that you enjoy it. I genuinely hope that you enjoy it. But
I hope that you enjoy it with the 5 other people who bought it. Correspondence. Green.
Okay. That whole album really gets me.
It's so good.
But in different ways. Green Correspondence. Let's see what we got here. I don't know if you can read this because I don't know if I'm really here. I see a pen in my hand. I see myself, but it's all wrong. Like it's the wrong angle. It's the wrong me, and it's all green. Look out for the 3-color green turns. If everything turns green when it's closed, don't let it get close. Don't let it set in. But if you do, no matter what, you do not speak to it. Please. I need you safe, Peggy. I don't want you to end up here, too. I don't know where I've gone.
Everywhere I go, I don't know where I am.
Now, everybody in chat, they don't see it on screen. I hope that it comes across. It's just filled with spelling errors.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a cat mashed its paw on a keyboard a little bit. Always drinking coffee. Okay, so I had last night. For whatever reason, I decided to listen to Mouth Dreams literally from start to finish in one go.
Uh-huh.
And it works so much better as that. But at the same time, so Just a Baby didn't get me the first time. Like, when you showed it to me, I was like, this is really good. His sentence mixing is really, really great. But it didn't get me until the brick joke happens, where almost at the fucking end of the album, he shows up again in a duet with Hurt and Rick Astley. I'm like, oh, this is the best.
What's all this then? I was sad that these kind of stopped showing up.
I believe that this is, I believe that I know exactly what this is, too. I don't want to tell you until we're done. This is so good. Fucking love this game.
Alright. You love your Remedy.
Okay. I love your Remedy. Please make Alan Wake 2.
Please.
No, make Alan Wake 3.
Yeah, because this is Alan Wake 2.
Just don't make Alan Wake 2 and skip straight to 3. So...
That's like something Kojima would do.
Kojima would do that.
He would make Alan Wake 3.
Oh, man.
Imagine
Alan Wake 3 by Kojima?
And he doesn't even bother getting the rights or anything. He just does it.
Oh. Alice shows up halfway through the game, but her arms are like mechanical cyborg arms that turn into guns, and she wears a bikini, and it's never explained. And then in an interview, he's like, I did it because I like women who wear bikinis. They're like, well, does that have anything to do with the character? And he's like, well, she has gun arms. She's a strong lady.
And I can't argue with that logic. I legitimately cannot argue with that logic. Oh my god, I'm getting my ass kicked.
Kojima, you know, I mean, it's not like it doesn't have precedence too, right? Because Kojima's in this game, Sam Lake is in Death Stranding. Maybe. Could you fucking imagine after the development cycle and after like the history that franchise has had, that Sam Lake in the interview was like, you know, we couldn't get it released and Microsoft wouldn't let us have it, so we just gave it to Kojima because he wanted it and he had enough money to buy it. I felt that Kojima understood my artistic intent better than I ever did. And it's just like panning over Yoji Shinkawa artwork of Sarah Breaker with like a giant shotgun that's bigger than her, like Cloud Stripe style.
That's good shit.
I forget what we were talking about. Oh, yeah, okay. So that episode of Threshold Kids is really good because what that is supposed to be is, you know how the entire Threshold Kids is supposed to be like the Candle Cove, like a creepypasta type thing?
Uh-huh.
So that one is supposed to be the Threshold Kids Lost episode that didn't get made. That one's supposed to be the one that they made, and that the overhead was like, this doesn't make any sense, don't show this to Dylan. And so it ended up here instead.
Here in the bleed. Also, can I just say, with this setup that I have on my Shatter right now, this is the Magnum that I've wanted for the whole game.
There's the etching.
It's pretty good.
It's got stopping power, it's got range, it's got that kick to it.
The problem solver.
Right.
The equalizer. Favorite / current director.
Yeah, I like that.
Welcome / grateful, also rated. Man. One of these days, we're gonna have to do a full stream where we just go through, like, the Lost and Banned episodes wiki or whatever, and look at Squidward Suicide and Pokemon Black Edition and just everything that we can get our hands on.
Yeah.
Maybe that can be Halloween 2021. Oh man, playing all of those bad ROM games?
Maybe that can be a charity incentive.
They sure
Maybe,
changed their
yeah.
tune all of a sudden.
Hey, I was gonna ask you, in your settings, did you ever notice anything having to do with the
obsessing over these
shadows or ray tracing?
I noticed that I couldn't turn it on.
And you.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, I know that Control has ray tracing, and obviously that can be a huge hit when it comes to shadows. I didn't know if you had it turned on or not. For what it's worth, like, this area seems to be running pretty well, at least on my end.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it hasn't really been hanging, knock on wood.
I mean, you know, the foundation, hold on, I got this, yeah. There we go. I had to, this is mostly a steel configuration. There's some wood over there. I was gonna say,
does
like...
fucking particle board count?
Yes, it was at one point wood.
Particle board is like the Pringles of wood.
Yeah, that's actually really apt.
And conversely, Pringles are the particle board of potato chips.
Pringles are just made of sawdust and dreams.
Much like me.
Just like me. Somebody didn't like us talking about particle boards. Somebody didn't like us talking about Pringles and particle board and they left.
Aww.
Bye. See you next time. See you, chump.
Gonna put some red sand in your eye.
Are you gonna cry? I gotta say, I think Control is its performance is helped in the Foundation DLC by just like not having a whole lot of geometry to actually render.
Not quite as much destructible terrain. Still some, but not as much.
No. This is like a Gundam game almost at this point.
Yeah. You're just making me want to play more EDF. Or I wish there was a good Gundam Breaker game on PC, but there's not.
I wish that too. Like, I was looking through, hey, what's the most recent Gundam release? I'm like, oh, well, there's this one Gundam game that's super customizable, and it's got all the characters from all the anime, and it's super great. And I'm like, oh, cool. What is it called? And they're like, oh, it's SD Gundam.
Oh.
That's not what I want.
Wait, why not? What's wrong with SD Gundam? I don't get it.
Chibi Gundam.
Oh.
SD Gundam was, I mean, literally exactly what it sounds like, but, it's like Super Robot. Is it Super Robot Wars that I'm thinking of that has like everybody from Evangelion and Gurren Lagann and I mean Gundam as well.
I don't know.
But then they're all just like chibi, super deformed dudes rolling around, and it's like, oh, man.
So close yet so far.
It's hard for me to think about a series. This is a two-parter. I'm gonna separate this into two parts.
All right.
It's hard for me to think about a series that is that benefits less from having a super deformed art style than Gundam, or like a tone rather, because Gundam's original thing was like, you know, the horrors of war and like relatively serious space drama, like procedure. It wasn't unlike a Star Trek in Japan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then to also say that I think the SD style does really, really like it negatively impacts the art style of Supergiant robots, because Supergiant robots, they do well from like the more detail that you can stack on, right?
Mm-hmm.
The more you can see the nuts and bolts and the connections and everything,
The more
like,
you
the
can
better,
impress the scale.
The more you can impress the scale, and then to make them all tiny, super deformed
Big
chibis
head.
that you see, like at the end of an anime episode to recap and to do silly hijinks like the Tachikomas. It's like, what the fuck? And see, the Tachikomas work that way because they are rounded and silly and have childlike voices. So they're essentially chibi robots, but blown up to, oh my god, this screen effect.
It's so good. Fucking love it.
They're already chibi robots, but just blown up to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I remember as a kid, SD Gundam had just started airing in English in like the early to mid 2000s, and I had an SD Gundam, and I was like, man, this jet black Gundam with really big red angel wings and like green light up eyes and the core in its chest. This would be so cool if it was just like a regular Gundam, didn't look like a baby's toy. But then I also really like Lucky Star, so where's my SD Alan Wake? Super deformed Barry, and he's just Barry. You know, I'm trying to. Something that I remember.
It begins.
Oh no, are we losing our connection?
The hanging begins.
I see. Oh, I think I'm back. I appear to be back anyway. It strikes me as a... So, I like Kojima's games, despite him being weirdo sometimes, all the time. I like a lot of his stuff. I really like Snatcher. I forgot just how many versions of Snatcher exist. Because there's Snatcher as its first run, which was incomplete, and then Snatcher got a re-release with like an added final chapter. It also got like a radio play, like a radio drama. It also got an SD Snatcher, which was like largely the same plot with some minor differences and just character models that were shrunken down and given big heads and big eyes. It's just weird to me. I'm surprised that never happened to Metal Gear.
I guess they want me to see whatever's on this tape.
My life's
Look
been
at
a
the tape.
strange one. Certainly stranger than I'd like. But this place...
I'm
it's
surprised it
something
never
else.
happened to Metal Gear
The
because
floors
those
crawl,
Nandoroids
walls
exist.
Slither. It's a shifting pit. On the street, it's just another drab building standing there for anyone to see. But no one does. How do we miss it? Northmore. Acting director in Northmore now is on a train from Washington. He'll expect answers, which is why I'm making these tapes. They're evidence that I'm at least trying to understand. Father searched his entire life for something like this, and we find it 1 week after he's buried. He always hated irony. Of course, Father, the great director, Ash, would have been the first man in. And look at me, his bookworm son. The supposed head of research who can't stop his legs from shaking long enough to step over the threshold.
Not some kind of key in there that I need, right?
You think a ritual in the bathroom? I don't know. I'll take a look just so that I have it on hand. How much did you end up reading about Director Northmore?
Not much.
There's some extra stuff with him that we would probably want to see. That we'll talk about if we don't get to it by the end of the game. Because I think you will really like where that goes too. He's one of the other, like, big story moments that I can think. Or not big story moments, but he's like the... I would consider him the rat man to this game's portals. In the background, yeah, cool. Let's see what we got here. 2 of these rituals. Canyon and Deep Cavern.
He's got in. Boom.
Okay.
The nail. Pile of smoking rubble.
Marshall blew up the nail? What the hell was she thinking?
Sorry, I'm reading up on what you might have to do. I think nail is one of those words for me that's been completely ruined because of Dragon Ball.
Yeah, I get that.
I can never think about... It's like Frieza and Cooler. I can never think about a Freezer without thinking about Dragon Ball, and I can never think about a Cooler without thinking about those movies. Or say a pair of swim trunks.
Yeah.
Trunks has forever been ruined now because all I can think about is Trunks instead as a character. Joining the Time Patrol. I still love, man, Dragon Ball is one of those series that I love the way, I love how callous they are with like the rules of its own universe, because literally like time cops and time police is something that you can just train somebody to do like it's a 9-to-5 job. And the idea that you could train somebody to just come in off the street that you've never heard of before, and in a couple hours teach them how to mess with time and timelines and like the space-time continuum. It's
Why
the kind
not?
of thing that I think, yeah, it's like it's the kind of thing that I think back to the very beginning of DBZ, when in the middle of Gohan's training, Piccolo just blows up the moon and it never gets mentioned ever.
The moon gets blown up like 2 or 3 times.
Who needs it? It's not important. If the moon is not in the camera right now, just blow it up.
Fucking Roshi blows up the moon, then somebody wishes it back, then Piccolo blows it up. Because whenever the moon exists, it causes a problem for Goku.
But it's just like... There's never a second thought, right?
Of course not. Why would there
It's
be?
like, the moon... Okay, so... The full moon causes them to turn into, like, Ozaru or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of, like, hey, what if we just put him in a cave or, like, throw a blanket on top of him for a couple hours? Instead, it's just, yeah, just blow up the moon. Who cares? Like, obviously, the moon is the problem.
The moon
Fucking
is
blow
the
up
problem.
moon.
Get rid of it.
Blow it up. And at no point does anybody ever say, Toriyama-sama, can I tell you about what would happen if you blew up, like, the tides would fuck over everything, and like the rotation of the earth would be tossed off by the, relative whatever changes to gravity. And he's like, Yeah, but the moon makes them into monkeys. Blow up the moon.
Get rid of it. Who needs it?
Get out of my office. Why did you tell me about this?
Idiot.
Fire this man.
Kaiba Corp products shouldn't bend this easily.
Fire whoever designed that bottle.
There is a plot point in the Dark Side of the Dimensions movie where they gather up all of the Millennium item pieces, and it's like this, you know, magical ancient Egyptian MacGuffin.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, silly Kaiba, nothing can match up to the power of the Millennium items, not even your technology. And then Kaiba like presses a button and the whole room goes blue, and he's like, magic doesn't matter as long as I'm at the helm of the technology. Like, technology is limitless as long as you're Seto Kaiba. Or something like that. Just completely discounts magic. Because he's rich enough to say that. It's like, what if you had a character in Dragon Ball who staunchly refused to believe that, like, Super Saiyans existed and that the androids were ever a thing because he was just that rich. And anytime that Goku or Vegeta ever tried to challenge him and be like, hey, I can beat you in a tournament, like I can beat you in a fist fight, he would just say, no, you can't because I'm rich. And he would devise like a suit of armor that made him punch harder. Kaiba as a character is just like a stubborn refusal to adhere to the rules of the universe, and I really appreciate it.
He's like, no, but money though. And
like,
he's right.
What if Batman was not a hero, but instead was just an asshole?
Isn't that just Iron Man?
No. Iron Man's an asshole, but he's still like a hero. Kaiba's not a hero. How much money did it... I can't even... I wish that I had some sort of real-world idea of how much money it take to fire a bunch of cards into space to prove to aliens that evil monsters exist. And then the cards come back down and they're like cursed Lovecraftian horror beings that cause major problems. And Kaiba never learns about it either, to my knowledge. Like, those cards come back and irreparably damage and mentally scar one of the characters in GX. Which, depending on how you want to look at it, might have possibly led to several characters dying. I don't think Kaiba is ever made aware that those cards came back.
And that makes it better.
Aware. Yeah, like, as far as he's aware, he taught aliens how to play Duel Monsters. I flash back to one of the episodes of the first season where they hadn't established the rules of what Duel Monsters was supposed to, or what Yu-Gi-Oh! As a show was able to do yet, and what it meant to lose a duel. So in the first or possibly second episode, Yugi and Kaiba duel, and of course Kaiba loses. And Yugi, like, crushes his mind with his mind powers. And after that, he comes back at the apex of the Duelist Kingdom, and he's got, like, these dark circles under his eyes, and his voice is, like, modulated, and they imply that Kaiba is a ghost. A, that never goes anywhere and never gets brought up again, to my knowledge, which is incredible all by itself. But B, he challenges Yugi to a rematch, and in order to win the duel,
this is the last
because they're standing on like the barrier of the castle, right?
Right.
like a giant balcony overlooking a cliffside. He stands up on the balcony and he's like, Yugi,
And she
if you
thought
attack
I
my
wasn't
life
ready.
points directly, the monster's blast will knock me off of this, and my death will be on your hands. And because of that, Yugi steps down, and he doesn't do it. And Kaiba just wins, and is no longer a ghost anymore. But there are a number of reasons why that doesn't make any sense. And the biggest part is because the monsters don't exist, right? They're holograms that Kaiba created.
Mm-hmm.
So the holograms can't blast him back with force. Like, even if he... I'm sorry, it's so stupid. I'm having trouble reconciling how stupid it is, because it's so stupid, but it's so great. He stands on the edge, and he's willing to kill himself over a card game. He's implied to be a ghost.
There. Easy as pie.
And also,
that's a
the
nice
way
one.
in which he's talking about being
fixed it,
blasted
didn't
back
I?
and dying, it doesn't work. It's not how holograms work. And Kaiba would know because he made the holograms.
Whole place is coming down.
If only Yugi hadn't activated his last trap card and attacked our life points directly, the holographic force of the nail wouldn't be falling down and crushing everything.
That's right.
I still can't believe that Kaiba got added to Jump Force as a character.
Fucking Jump Force.
I really want to play Jump Force because it's terrible, but it's also like $40 and I don't care that much. But I really want to play it.
Holy shit.
Get out of here, Jesse.
You get out of there.
Whole world's coming down. It's like Billy Idol said in that song.
Oh, thank God.
I wonder what Billy Idol would think of Control.
What the hell was all that?
He'd probably be
Things
down
should
with
be
it.
Better now, not worse. Emily will know.
I mean, he wrote an entire concept album around cyberpunk way before cyberpunk was ever even like a known like a thing outside of book. And he got slammed for it. People did not like that album.
How sad for him.
And you know, it's a shame because Cyberpunk is a very strange album. Parts of it are really good, and parts of it are really bad. They have, I think Shock to the System is pretty okay. I think, Love Labors On is pretty good. Shangri-La is pretty good. Like, most of that album is pretty good, but his cover of Heroin is probably maybe one of the worst songs I think I've ever heard. And I say that as, like, you of all people know well that Billy's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
So my favorite artist. Except for maybe the sounds, I don't know. It switches back and forth between them and him. But man,
What did you do? What is causing these tremors?
it's such a bad
I thought
version of
you
that
could
song.
tell me. I completed the 4 rituals just like the board told me to. The astral bleed should have stopped.
Power Junkie's a pretty good song
It
too.
has stopped. The nail is repaired. But we have a new problem. My analysis of the nail indicates that it is literally a piece of the astral plane. Or possibly a vessel containing the astral plane. Or both.
That sounds
Either
bad.
way, right now both dimensions are
It is
vibrating at
bad.
completely incompatible frequencies. The spatial friction they are generating is incalculable. It's going to destroy both planes. I messed this all up. Maybe Marshall was right to destroy the nail. I should have left it in pieces. No, then the astral plane would still be leaking in. Sometimes there's no right answer, Jesse. We need more information. No. I need to fix this now. I'll figure something out. No, we should really make a plan. The tremors are originating from directly below us, but we don't know what... Perfect. I'll head down and take care of whatever's going on. Just do what you can from here.
I'll just go down
Jesse,
there
you
and
can't
video
just-
game it.
I have to, Emily.
Yeah, that's all right.
I'm the director. This is on me.
It's funny that you say that also. There is a version of there's a line in this game somewhere that we may have seen already that it's the it's the board talking to you, and it's straight up like, there are enemies down in the location, go exterminate / video game them.
I think I do remember that.
It's a really good moment. The writing for them is great.
If you're not going to listen to me, then you better go figure out how to stop this.
I'll have you
There's
know,
no telling what could happen if
the
vibrations
pyramid is the
escalate.
final mission here. Just so
I'll see you
you're
later,
aware.
Emily. Good luck. Take notes.
Reach the bottom of the nail.
That's right.
Maybe not quite that directly.
Just try and take the quick way down. You know, I think I would have done exactly the same thing.
Which is like as perfect as certification gets for something being a bad idea.
Yeah. Usually whenever people ask me for my advice, I would
Just
say,
do the opposite.
Consider whatever I would do the opposite of that. Consider the options in front of you, weigh them, and if I were to do something, do the opposite. Straight up, like, reach the bottom of the nail, I'm like, okay, yeah, absolutely, jump down. Because that's also kind of the logic that a lot of this game teaches you.
Mm-hmm.
I would absolutely expect that to work.
Unacceptable behavior memo.
Yeah, that sounds like me, alright.
Oh, this is a hidden area. Oh, there was a dude in there!
There was a mimic.
I'm so glad they do that at least once.
From the desk of Director Northmore, to all Foundation personnel, it has come to my attention that members of our excavation teams have been relieving themselves of their God-given liquids in the chasms of the Foundation. As per earlier orders, all personnel currently serving in the Foundation must expel fluids / urinate / do their business exclusively into the correctly colored and labeled vials provided by research personnel. To do otherwise disrupts the ongoing study of the Foundation and demonstrates a profound disrespect for not only the board and its oldest house, but also for the Bureau you so proudly serve. If I discover firsthand any agents treating the Oblivion as their personal lavatory, they will be forced to go down there and personally clean up their mess. Signed, Director Broderick Northmore. Yeah. No, that tracks.
Don't whiz on the electric fence.
Honestly, that reads to me like a memo came down from your supervisor that's like, listen. Okay, no, hold on. I have memories of this that are coming directly from a podcast, so I should probably preface that it's from Wooly's podcast where they talk about their history in QA. But they get an email that's like, dude, listen, we know somebody has been smearing something on the walls in the bathroom, and we're pretty sure we know who it is. So stop doing it. We're just gonna say this once. And then eventually, of course, it doesn't stop. So they fire the one guy, and it immediately stops being a problem, right?
Right.
And then they get the knowledge that he's been hired somewhere else, and suddenly that somewhere else is starting to have that exact same problem. Like, bureaucratic overhead having to deal with that is hilarious to me. Because so much of business is like trying to pretend that stuff like that doesn't exist and trying to put on like a face for it.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like every once in a while you get like a company-wide email from somebody who wears a suit and tie to work, and they're like, please stop smearing things on the bathroom wall. Please. I don't know which one of you it is, but I hired all of you. Please stop.
I am not sure where this wants me to go.
The only person who thinks that's funny is Kojima. So, I'm being told that you can just jump down there and float to the bottom. That's what I'm told. I mean, worst case scenario, you
lied
can
to me.
reload, right? Did it not work?
I can't believe you lied to me.
Okay, so I didn't mean for that to happen, but also, that might as well consider us even for Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah, fair enough. That makes it so much funnier.
Good. I'm glad you liked that.
Although, to be fair, in Dragon's Dogma, I never told you that you wouldn't die. I just said to do it, and you did it.
That's right.
There was, like, no pretense. I'm just like, hey, jump off that cliff, and you're like, okay.
I thought it would be cool, what can I say? I was right.
Still not sure what it wants me to do here.
Literally? Okay. I am on www.eurogamer.net. And
Sounds
they say,
exotic.
I don't know why I said it that way. It literally says, to do so, simply float to the bottom of the nail. She'll explain that while astral bleed has stopped, earthquakes have started, and they appear to be coming from the bottom, sorry, from beneath the nail.
Oh, is there
which
like a
means you need to
hole
head
there
down
that
there.
I missed?
I guess so. To do so, simply float down to the bottom of the nail.
How'd I miss that?
I don't know. Let the record show that I was not attempting to kill you.
How the fuck did I miss that?
That was just the top of the nail? How much deeper does the foundation go?
It's a great, big rock. Friends don't have a rock this big.
The crystals are growing like crazy here.
How
It's almost
deep
like they're
does the
trying to stop
foundation
me.
go? This is kind of like when we were making the run to Barbara Jagger, and the rebar was starting to come through the sides of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Was damaged. The board said it.
When Marshall blew up the nail.
Only not as
Lord, attacked
fast
her.
and deadly.
I don't fucking like it.
Huh. All right. Yeah, you're pretty much in the final stretch here.
I sense
Yeah,
combat.
You got one more big thing to do, and then you're done. You will have not only taken control, but also exerted control. Like the snake that you are.
Marshall? You're alive.
Soon you will no longer recognize us, or yourself, or him, or her, or them. Family is dead. The walls are broken, but yellow and red in the eye.
God damn it.
Inverted is made right. These rivers
Fuckers take everything. I am not letting you take this.
You've always been the new you. You want this to be true.
Quick, you want to make sure that you put your controller port in controller port 2.
More hiss.
Otherwise, she's going to be able to read your movements.
I'm gonna read the shit out of those inputs.
Whatever you do, don't spend an hour and 20 minutes against Marshall. Whatever you do, don't take an entire hour out of the editing clock. This is more your bag than mine, honestly, at this point.
It's a good thing I'm so good at this.
It is a good thing that you're so good at this. I should edit in. I shouldn't. I won't edit this in because it would be really annoying, but I'm getting the image in my head of the codec just like flashing in the middle of the screen, like you're getting a call the entire time.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh no.
Out of ammo.
Oh, okay, it doesn't kill you.
I thought it would.
But it did not make you stronger. That pop song lied to me. It's one of those pop songs that I was disappointed on because it shows up in a lot of mashups, and every time that it does, I think that it's going to be harder, better, faster, stronger instead of just stronger. And I'm like, when does the Daft Punk begin? As I look on with my Samurai Jack face.
It's the magic key.
There is no Daft Punk, is there? Oh yeah, I forgot, Samurai Jack is in those Metal Gear games too. He's in there quite a bit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
He gets around.
Teaches Raiden how to jump good. Actually, I was gonna say, is John DiMaggio anywhere in Metal Gear? And I think if he's in anything, he might be in Peace Walker. But if he's not, I do know that he is at least in Final Fantasy VII Remake.
That explains why the board wasn't answering what's causing the quakes. Marshall came down here.
I would
to
be really
stop
surprised
this.
if John DiMaggio
I should've been
wasn't
with
somewhere in Metal Gear.
I could have saved her, but I can still save everyone else.
Oh. Wait, I think he is actually. He is. He's got so much. Oh, he was in Static Shock. Very cool.
I didn't know that.
Neither did I. He was just one of the, like, one-off villain of the week guys, though. I'm on manga.fandom.com/John DiMaggio.
Well, fuck you too.
I don't know why this is one of the first things that it brought me to.
I'll be sure to.
Let's play it smart. They don't need to know I'm onto them.
Ah, okay. He was only in Twin Snakes, and he was one of the guard. That makes sense. That's so weird. Also, good job.
I did it.
You did it.
I was the control all along. It was me.
It was me.
It was
I was
me.
wondering what you were doing there.
I was the turkey all along.
I was wondering what that service weapon was doing there. God, what a great show. Oh, man. I also own all of that show, but I haven't watched it in years. It's so good, though. That's... Invader Zim and Billy and Mandy were both equally formative.
Yeah.
I can't undo the
Oh, hey there,
astral bleeding in the
King Seeker
foundation,
Frames
but
again.
at least it stopped.
Along with the seismic activity. You did it, Jesse. Did you ever find Marshall?
I did. She's gone. She died thinking she'd save the Bureau. Not a bad way to go. I wasn't ready for this crisis. I didn't even see it coming. But I promise I'll be ready for the next one. I mean, what good is a director who can't hold her bureau together?
I like how willing Jesse is to take up the mantle.
It all happens very fast.
It all happens very fast, but at the same time, it happens gradually, but at a quick pace.
I thought I know how to handle
You know what I mean?
things.
Like, it happens
Now that I'm
quickly,
the director.
but over the course of the game, it's not
Clearly,
that long for us.
It's not that simple. I need to choose a direction for the Bureau. It should be one that serves our goals, not the board's. Whatever those are. I need to lead my way.
So you've done it. You've completed the game. What's next for you? Where are you going next?
Side quest town.
I'm going to side quest town to do more side quests.
That's right.
Well, hey, you've got, what, an hour 45 to kill, so...
Oh, excuse me for 1
why
second.
not? Yeah, go for it. So yeah, that looks like it's, that's the end of, technically the first DLC. I mean, we did them out of order, but it was good to have that Alan Wake stuff happen ahead of time. If only to, kind of keep pace from when we were doing both back to back. The weirdest thing, I think, is just the fact that you can kind of you can stumble into that one and do it out of order, which is strange to me. I'm always surprised and kind of impressed when games let you sort of organically come along the side of this kind of content. Souls games do it in a weird way. Also, I always think back to the Artorias of the Abyss DLC from DS1, where it's like, yeah, you can totally run into that, but it's so out of the way that you kind of have to know what you're looking for. You either have to know what you're looking for or comb the environment in such a way that you're unlikely to find it without having beaten the game first. But technically, like, it's totally possible to, right? I guess while we're waiting for Bix to get back, hello and welcome to anyone and everyone who might be stopping by and checking in. This has been a really cool game. We've been, taking a look at some Remedy stuff from here and there, and now that we're finally into December and starting to pick up with some Metal Gear and Christmas games, it's good to wave goodbye to Control. It's been an excellent game up until this point. Probably one of the best of the last couple of years. Just in terms of like a straightforward action game that kind of doesn't overstay its welcome. But yeah, I've been a big fan. And kind of having this as an excuse to go back and also look at and rediscover Alan Wake was very, very nice. I loved that game and that series a whole lot. And if anything, kind of getting to the end of Control makes me think like, you know, I should probably play those Max Payne games at some point too. Well, maybe those first two. I don't know about the third one, but at least Max Payne 1 and 2. These games are very good. I believe up until now, what the current plan is probably to keep going with Metal Gear. We're just about finished. We're right at the halfway point of MGS1, and probably switch back onto New Vegas. And maybe when Metal Gear is done, probably do some Christmas videos. Probably do either some Christmas videos or maybe start Mass Effect 1, because man, Mass Effect is also just one of my favorites of all time. Oh, and Yakuza. We haven't finished Yakuza yet. In fact, we kind of just started it and let it rock and then had it stop there. We'll eventually go back. To anybody who might be tuning in, though, I hope your holidays are going well. Hope everything's going well for you. Here in Florida, we had a bit of a cold snap that has unfortunately gone away. So now it's just back to being incredibly warm and uncomfortable. But for a couple of days there, it was nice to wear some heavier clothes, got to put on some nice jackets. You can tell that, you can always tell when I'm starting to try to fill for time. We've got the weather talk. Hopefully it's not killing you guys. I've got some family up in Wisconsin who are kind of dealing with a cold front also, and they're apparently getting like massive amounts of snow, which, you know, obviously not crazy for this time of year, but as somebody who never sees it, I'm always surprised when it happens. I spend the whole year waiting for the holidays to come around, and then they do, and I'm like, oh god, I better squeeze as much enjoyment out of this as possible before we inevitably go back to having uncomfortable weather for the rest of the year.
Sorry about that. That took too long.
No worries. Welcome back. You're just in time.
Am I?
Yes, I believe my talk of the weather got one person interested enough to leave.
That's how that works.
That's right. They realized that one of us was from Florida, and they're like, oh god, I need to get out of here.
What do? You get out of there.
I need to leave this channel as fast as possible.
Okay, let's find some ID cards, why not?
Yeah, you've got, what, I'm gonna guess you've got 2 out of 5?
Yeah, 2 out of 5 seems about right. I'm gonna fast travel. This will take fucking forever.
And just put on your cardboard box B and get in the truck and
then again,
head back to the
I probably want to go
facility.
through the whole area from start to finish.
Okay. The world is your oyster.
You might say that.
An oyster that you control. Where you set the rules. Hey,
And
so here's something that I
there
kind of wanted to
exists
discuss
no
with you
better
now that
oyster.
we've got some of the story stuff, you know, kind of sorted and out of the way.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what you think of the idea that... So, we talked about how large portions of Jesse's life have been implied to have been written by Alan as an escape, right? I really like the idea that... Hey, dogs. I really like the idea that getting to this point in his life and his journey with, oh wow, they're really going for it, huh?
It's just the one dog. One really loud, annoying dog.
It sounds like 2 dogs because of the reverb. Anyway. Good dog. Bad dog, no biscuits. Anyway, like I really like the idea that after all of this fighting with the Dark Presence and getting to this point in his life, he's like, okay, by the rules of the narrative, I am not strong enough to solve this, but I can create a protagonist, and the protagonist can be strong enough to do it. Somebody who can actively take control of their own fate, as opposed to being stuck in it.
Right.
Deliberately crafting Jesse to be that is really cool. She gets like a super badass backstory with the weirdness of the slide projector and the dog children drinking the milk of the not mother. And it's like, oh my, what is all of this nonsense? All in service of just making her a force to be reckoned with, but also a strong enough force that she could take out not only the Dark Presence, but things bigger and better than it.
Such as like the board and the former.
That's right.
And it makes you wonder how much of that stuff is the product of Alan's imagination, how much of this is incidental. Because there are forces at play here that are beyond his ken. That's obvious.
Yeah, like writing somebody into being that has the ability to take control of... God, I gotta stop saying that. The ability to overcome this situation and situations like it, but are those situations like it also born of the manuscript?
Exactly.
And I feel like with Remedy, I feel like they could have gone one of two ways, and the other way they could have gone would have been really shitty, which is like, what if Alan wrote it so that Max Payne comes and saves him and we get a new Max Payne game? I feel like at some point...
What if it's a Max Payne reboot and it's Alex Casey?
I would totally play an Alex Casey game. He seems in some ways like less dour than Max. Which is not saying a lot.
Not saying a lot. Damn, I'm full up. Never had
right.
that happen before.
You're doing a good job. Maybe too good of a job, some might say. God. I went back today before we went live to kind of refresh on some Metal Gear Solid stuff.
Yeah.
And so Metal Gear requires, the first one at least, requires a lot of backtracking. And I was able to edit out a good portion of that in the video that went up, but at the same time, there's a lot of it that's like, to edit out all of the backtracking in that game would still be annoying to watch it on stream.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what I did today was I went back and scrubbed the entire map for anything that we could have possibly missed up to this point. So we have like the thermal goggles, we have the mine detector. But there's one item that we don't have that we really could use. And the reason that we don't have that, and we'll talk about this in the video as well, is because the way Metal Gear does it, depending on at what point you pick up specific named items on the map, like you can get the SOCOM at the heliport, like in the beginning when we did. But if you don't get it there, then you get it when the three guys storm in and Meryl is, you're doing that little forced combat sequence after Anderson dies. And it's stuff like that. Like if you don't get the SOCOM here, you get it there. If you don't get the thermal goggles in this location, then once you beat this boss, it'll change to this location. And because of that, there's one really useful item that we will not have until essentially the second half of the game, because it doesn't show up until almost the end boss rush.
Good
but all the rest
job.
of it we got. It's neat. It's kind of neat because it incentivizes exploration in a good way, because it definitely rewards you with potentially, game altering gear. But at the same time, it also incentivizes replaying it, just to see, like, okay, if a player is likely to do this here and find this item during this sequence, then changing it up caters to a different playstyle. And it can drastically change how you approach certain parts of that game. Like not having the mine detector when you go and have to get from building A to building B turns that entire thing into like chaff grenade and crawling on the ground. But if you get the mine detector while you do it, it turns into toss a chaff at the middle and then run between the run between the areas on the screen that are technically safe. And it's like a much more expedient and action-y kind of deal.
Yeah.
It's cool. Just kind of the nature of being able to pick up those cardboard boxes also just changes how you interact with the environment and the world around you in a pretty significant way.
Here's one of them.
Oh, I never end up using it.
Cartographer.
Good job, Jesse. I think cartographer is maybe also a word that's been ruined for me. Because I can never think about... Oh, because there's probably the most famous level in Halo 1 is the Silent Cartographer, where you drop onto the island and it's like a big circle that you can approach from a couple different ways. And it's kind of like a big open level. It's like a miniature open world almost. Except not really. It's an open-ended level, but the level design it's very neat, and it was a thing that kind of informed the design for a lot of Halo going forward. And the first thing that always popped into my head is the Silent Cartographer. That's also a really good name for a mission.
It's pretty good.
The final mission in Halo 1 is called "And the Horse You Rode In On," which is really good because you blow that ship up. A lot of pick-upables around here.
There's a fair few.
Though, from my perspective, I can't quite see what a lot of them actually are. I can just tell that they are. Todd rays in this game look pretty good.
Yeah, you like those Todd rays?
I do. I like them a lot. I like them in this game. I don't like them in Todd's games.
Because in Todd's games, they are meant to compensate for a lack of game design.
That's right. Although, you know what I really do like?
What's that?
I like that image that people keep throwing around of Todd Howard's face, but he's in like a thin, like a pencil mustache and a hat. He's trying to sell you Skyrim.
Yeah.
And then he'll show up and it'll be the same face, but with like a beard and sunglasses, and he's trying to sell you Skyrim. And he just keeps getting angrier and angrier. I like that a lot. I struggle to think of people in the industry that I instinctively trust less.
Than Todd Coward.
Todd Howard was... Todd Coward, that's right. I used to think that Todd Coward was a pretty cool guy. Like, watching the... when I got Oblivion, I got like a special edition that came with a bunch of behind-the-scenes documentaries where they just talk about like the AI patterns and, you know, the connected number of cells that they use to make the random dungeons and stuff like that. Or not random dungeons, but you know what I mean. like the dungeons in the overworld. And a lot of that stuff was really cool. And a lot of that stuff was definitely worth reading and worth listening to. But then the more that I saw him give talks, and the more that I've seen him in interviews over the years, seeing what those games are, the more that I'm convinced that he's just a shyster.
Kind of like Peter Molyneux in that way.
Except I believe Peter Molyneux means well. I don't believe Todd means well.